bit of commercial before we welcome Jessica Russell all the way from California, Los Angeles, Beverly Hills. Would like to review her episode and, look at the channel below. Now, do not miss her show because this is something you need in the prolonged pandemic. And we're not, Jessica, yourself, you and I, we're not buying airtime. We don't have to do this. We are, for me, I'm doing this because I hear the people. I hear that people need hope. People need some kind of a light, whatever light is. Is it a blue light? Is it a ultraviolet light? Is it a blurry light? People just need some sensing of a direction, right? Now, I'm just going to be really honest. We don't buy airtime, a podcast, a YouTube. It's free. But we are devoting the hour to prepare the content because we want the viewers, whomever you are, we respect the time of the eyeballs on the internet. And we want to give you the content we think will help you through this prolonged pandemic. I mean, whatever you can take with you. And I would like to reiterate Jessica Russell's show. Jessica Russell show last week. I mean, it comes so easy, right? The Jessica Russell show last week, women, business, health, and women. She talks about jumping into the deep end. And she says this rings in my mind, rings on my ear for the whole of the week. And that just really seemed yesterday, right, Jessica, that you said, do not fear, do not be afraid. Just go to the deep end because you will swim. That really, really rings such a deep impression in my heart. And if anybody needs any kind of positive energy, any kind of positive hope, whichever direction you're pointing, because we don't know which direction you're pointing, just jump in. So today, 10 p.m. prime time on a Sunday, and next week is Jessica Russell's final episode. Do not miss because she's giving you free consultation in 1 hour in the show. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen. So please tune in to what she has got to say next week. And she's got all her bio data below her videos. And if you missed out last week's show, look below Jessica Russell show, business, health and women. I'm calling it the Jessica Russell show. Okay, look below. Yes, which is your show. Around. Yeah, I mean it's such a natural thing to say, right? I mean it sounds like it rhymes. So go below her show because she's going to empower you, and I promise you, it's not a rah-rah. It's not that beating the heart and beating the drum kind of motivation. She talks a lot of logic because this is the time where you need very little money to start a business online. And you don't have to be afraid because you can jump to the deep end and people want you to succeed. And we want some success stories in the prolonged pandemic. And with that, I welcome Jessica to her own show to Singapore, broadcast to the rest of the world. Thank you so much, Jessica, for an hour, 45 minutes from now. Thank you so much, Jessica. Tell us how you're holding out, where you are, how is the weather? I know there's a snowstorm in some parts of America. And are you getting your vaccination?
Okay, so right now in most areas of the United States, we cannot find the vaccination. We don't have access to it. There is not enough vaccination, unfortunately, because of the other presidential administration. We are now trying to understand what was real, what was a lie, and just, I guess, piecemeal things. So
I see.
We're jumping on the future, and a lot of things are on fast track right now with the new administration. They're trying to fix mistakes and just basically rev up everything, because unfortunately, we've all been misled. A lot of people don't realize that. And so unfortunately, when you read certain things or you're hearing it on the news, it seems a little confusing. And we've gone through a lot here in America. On a personal note now, Vicki knows my background. Donald Trump and I and a former business partner actually were affiliates. We were going to make a multi-picture deal and use his casinos, and he was going to be involved. So, I have direct relationships with him. And then his second wife, which is wonderful. She's an amazing person. We
Marla
knew
Maples, right?
Marla Maples. She did a program for me. And so it's been a very, very difficult 4 years. And so it's kind of nice to be able to step out of all the drama and get back to the good relationships, be positive, and not feel like we're in so much of a circus. So I guess you kind of understand where I am politically, but you tend to have a lot of flavor when you are working with people of this magnitude anyway. But we are trying to do what we can do. I'm in Los Angeles in California. I'm in Beverly Hills. And for us in this part of Los Angeles area or California, it's spread very, very wide. We have been in almost complete lockdown. So we haven't had anything open. You discussed it last show, except for grocery stores, for takeout, for food. And they've tried to open up businesses here and there. But actually, I'm excited because I'm a little bit of a mess. I'm getting my first haircut, honestly, in about a year. My hairdressing places have not really been open at all, and they've been so booked. And this is a luxury now. It's become a luxury. And ironically, you get past a certain age where you really do have to get your hair dyed.
Yeah,
And
and
so
can we rewind a little bit? Can we do a little bit of gossip, corporate gossips? I think that would be really like spike up all the views. Tell us about how was it working with Marla Maples, who is Donald Trump's second wife, and you've got and she's the daughter is Tiffany. I know,
yeah.
really pretty, and she's kind of engaged with a new fiance now. What about working with Donald Trump? With his associates. Did you work directly with him, and how is he or his associates? How do they work? What are the business values that they take? Tell
Okay,
us.
so
Corporate gossips.
okay, well, my life, so you understand really the level of what I'm dealing with. There was a time when he wanted to do more than just be involved with his real estate, and he was trying to really break in and take over the entertainment industry. And at that time, I actually had two companies, and in my early stages, I had a business partner, which didn't unfortunately go well, but through him, we were entering into a series of contracts with Donald Trump. And at the time, he owned 3 casinos, and we wanted to use his casinos. I actually produced a movie with Mariah Carey that was supposed to be very, very big. And at that time, she was going through a divorce. And there's a lot of political things involved in these types of businesses. And what happened is we were dealing with Donald Trump, and we were having direct conversations because he doesn't have any power in the entertainment industry. This was basically when he did his one show, which was the reality show. But the entertainment industry basically did not receive him, and he was never able to push his way through. He was such a big man, and we didn't know as much as we know now. And when he was in the real estate investment business, he was very respected. He was like our king of real estate. And so we tried to break in and buy into the entertainment industry. It's a whole different animal. It's a whole different business. And he was basically not received well at all. But our relationship didn't last that long. We were trying to work with him directly, and then we worked with his advisors, his lawyers, and everything. And the nature of his morality and his protocol that you may see in the news is really what he is. And I've worked also with other people, with the American Indians, and also various tribes around the California area who have worked with him directly. They used to license his name on their casinos.
Yeah.
A lot of these groups, unfortunately, had very negative results and very strong consequences being in business. Now, when you are knowledgeable about him, this is a very common situation. He just really is not a good person. It's like he will do anything to hurt the underdog. And what you hear and you see is unfortunately what he is. Now, his second wife, Marla, she's lovely. She is very, very sweet. I don't know his two other wives. Marla did a project for me. She's very good friends with my former hairdresser of a couple of decades, and he put the relationship together. We got to be, fairly decent friends. Her daughter obviously was very young then, and she basically was raised away from her father. And Marla, after the divorce, lived in California, and she had very limited relationships with Donald Trump. So she really was not that involved with him, and they didn't know that I had the separate relationship. But she's just a sweetheart. She's very spiritual. She's very different. She's a sweet country girl. She's from the South. And so she didn't have that mentality that perhaps we know of his other two wives. Very, very different. And Tiffany is very sweet. I've never met her, but I remember hearing about her, and, fortunately she's in her father's life now. And I think she's been given some of the rewards of Trump, but she was very close with her mom the majority of her life, and she really wasn't part of her father's life. So now I guess he's making up for that, and we can add whatever we want to. But just really real person, very kind, loving, and it was just really a pleasure of having her in my life at that time. But it's like, two different levels, and she's continued on with her life, and she still lives here in California. She's very close by.
I just want to know, like, you doing a whole plethora of projects, being you the multitasker, and knowing the people from the top and left and right. How do you see the economy is going to be post vaccination? If the vaccination completes in 2021, like what Dr. Fauci is saying, late 2021 or early 2022, what do you see it's going to come back? What is the shape of the economy where you are is going to be? Because where you are, like you say, is the top three vibrant economy in the US, and that's like it's symptomatic of how big cosmopolitan cities is going to be in the world. So what's your take on it? Before we talk into your topic, I'm curious about your take on that.
That's okay. Here in Los Angeles, we're hurting very badly. It doesn't matter what level of business someone is in. Most of the office buildings are closed.
Yep.
Nobody is really functioning in their office environment. Most people are still working from home.
Yep.
Or most other people have lost their jobs. I don't know this factual, but I'm just saying to put a little bit more clarity into it. I probably feel like a little less than half, but maybe 30% of the people will never go back to their jobs because they either don't exist or because their businesses that they came from are so destroyed that there's no place for them to go back to. a lot of people are on public assistance and some of the programs that were offered to help them along with the pandemic. But as you know, in Los Angeles, for a great stretch in Southern California and Northern California, it's very expensive to live. Rents are very, very high. And I don't know how a lot of these lovely people are going to get out of this. The amount of money, for example, that the government gives somebody, which right now the money is frozen, so nobody receives anything, is basically on, for some people in the United States, it could cover the rent for a few months. But in my area, what someone may receive on a monthly basis is probably about a third of the rent. It doesn't really pay for a bathroom. And so when you try to look at this and figure it out, it's hard. But I only know entrepreneur oriented businesses. I only know of owning my own business or maybe working with other people as colleagues. That is why in our last podcast, it was just so important for people to understand that even if they're not used to having an independent career or being an entrepreneur, and they're used to working the 9 to 5, 9 to 9, you can do it because you've learned so many skills. But in California, we are a little bit more progressive in our thinking than people in other states. So we're fighters and we will do better. And then I think the new administration is going to also loosen up, and other people from other countries will continue to bring in their money heavier. We'll be able to just do things that we haven't been we will do things that we haven't been able to do over the last 4 years properly and a little bit more freely in order for it to be good economically for also other countries.
And I want to, and coming back to the theme of the second show, which is more towards women. That's where we left off last week. During these times, not only women, in general, Jessica, I seem to be like strong on the exterior, and I can be a very steely person, like steel. If I need to do things, I can push through things. I've been in France for these years. I'm doing things on my own. I learned a new language just to break through to the French economy and break through the cold, steely walls of the French bureaucracy that they're so notorious about. But I did enjoy myself. But these prolonged pandemic times, I'm so honest with you also, Jessica, because you've been so good and so kind. It kind of eats into you little by little, like a termite, that kind of bites at the ends, right? Yeah, it kind of termite. And there are good days and there are bad days. And I wonder, like, for the people, like what you say, we're talking about not only in Los Angeles. America is a huge place. If the money can go out to some rural areas, you're talking about 600 US dollars or 1,000 or 1,500 US dollars. For some families in some parts of America, the cost of living is so much lower that can pull you through probably 2 months, 3 months, or even, you can make that stretch. But for a place like yours, it's going to be expensive. The cost of living. Food.
The cost of living is very expensive, as you know, living in the city. But like you said, you can, for example, you can take 1,000 American dollars, and 1,000 American dollars in some of our southern states will get you a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment for a month, maybe 2 months. Here in Los Angeles, $1,000, or in most of California, $1,000 really doesn't even get you half of a month. Our average rent here in Los Angeles, this is comparable to New York, for an average person is running close to, say, $2,000, $2,500 a month. So it's very expensive. And we have an entrepreneur city. I mean, we do have the ability to make a lot of money, but we work hard. It's not everything that you see in Los Angeles, but we deal with a lot of higher, we have, like every place, a shrinking middle class, but we also have a lot of lower class, but a lot of upper class in, financially and professionally oriented people. But we also have that transient sector of the business where people work very heavily internationally or with people internationally. So it's the exchange of the money, and that's what we haven't had for a long time. And so you need the foreign money, just like you need our foreign money. We need that to go back and forth all around the world. And knowing me, I've lived out of the United States, and I've spent a good part of my adult business life working with people from out of the country. And I've worked with a settlement out of the country when I meet with my people who don't come to the United States. And so knowing what other people are going through as well, it's really an interesting time, because we're all going through a shift. And what we do have right now that we've never had is the unity. And I'm very grateful, because I'm very aware, and I make sure that I stay relevant and aware, because I'm very grateful. But a lot of people who have never traveled or worked with someone who comes from another country don't quite understand how fortunate we are here in America. And people do actually have a lot of respect, and they idolize the innovation and a lot of resources that come from America. And I say this all the time, and a lot of people don't understand me. I don't feel, because I don't live this life, that I should have to be grateful or thank anybody for me to function as a human being the way that I do. In my country, I'm a woman, and I have so much freedom. I can say what I want. I can do what I want. In other countries, we know it's not like that. And so I'm grateful, because I can work like a man, conduct myself in a business like a man, but other women cannot. And so the resources may not be there. It may not be as easy. And it really takes some type of inner perseverance to break down those walls. You have done that. And so, when you're working with certain caliber types of people, it doesn't make us better. We know this now that life has continued on. It's just different strategies and challenges, because you're dealing with different.
What is needed? It is what is needed in the environment to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody is different. But see, I think that's one of our problems internationally, is when we try to do business with other people, we have to have, like we were talking in the last podcast, a little bit more clarity of who we are in order to figure out how to work a little bit more effectively with other people, because we have to negotiate with ourselves in order to be able to negotiate with other people. And people from different cultures, people with lack of understanding because of lack of experience or knowledge, usually would not express their feelings or their opinion on something, because they don't want to let go of themselves, let go of their ego, or really discuss, what their feeling is in order to get past a certain point that's necessary in a deal or a business relationship, even a friendship, because most of us are very misunderstood. And if we communicate a little bit more openly, then it would be better. Now, that's wishful thinking, coming from also an Asian country, it's not always like that. People are more reserved. They keep a lot of things to themselves, and you don't have a tendency in a lot of circumstances for people to allow you to know who they are. So it's very difficult. In America, we just talk. Sometimes we never stop talking, and the rudeness, all of their
the rudeness.
But it does help in order to figure
out.
You can
see through. It doesn't complicate that much about how they think. Jessica, let us put a shift, change the gear a little bit. And as I was saying that, these termites are just like biting at the edges, right? And as this prolonged pandemic extends itself um,
Yes.
further, which we have no idea how it's going to be, and even with the vaccination, um, people are probably will still be locked down. The economies may not come back. It's not the magic pill. It's just a hope against a virus, right?
Yeah.
An economy needs so much more mechanism to get it up. It's not just the vaccine. The vaccine is on the medical level, but getting an economy up, it's a lot of demand, supply. The whole market force is into play, and
Yeah.
that right now is still a fuzzy area. But as we go into this prolonged pandemic, which we were talking about in this, the theme of the second show is about the mindfulness, about getting ourselves ready in terms of our mind, in terms of our health. When
Mhm.
that comes, when the economy or the opportunity knocks, you are ready for that. So this
Right.
period of time makes it so much more important for you to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us about your training as a hypnotherapist, and tell us your training as a functional nutritionist, which I've never heard of in this part of the world. So tell us, what
Okay.
is it, and what can we help? How can we help ourselves? I mean, women, men in general.
Okay. Well, you actually have heard of it, but you don't know the words because that's kind of a westernized word. Integrative and
Yeah,
functional is
yeah.
usually attached to medicine. And
Okay.
since in America we're so dependent on machines and a lot of
Yeah,
technology in our
yeah,
medical system,
yeah,
what happens
yeah.
is a lot of people are taking more of the holistic approach.
Yes.
We're getting back more to natural and
Yeah,
nature and the fundamentals of what's in the inner core. So
yeah,
you're basically mixing your nutrition in with your mindfulness, wellness, in order to help yourself and heal yourself on a mental and a physical level.
yeah.
In Asia, you are very much into mindfulness and wellness, like calming, and you have a lot of
Yoga.
yoga, meditation, excuse me. So, we have had spurts of time where people have explored this in America, especially in my state and in Southern California. We have a lot of people who are into so many different things. But what's been happening over the last 10 years, 15 years or so
Yep.
is that the people in the medical profession have I'm sorry, the people in the medical profession have tried to break through and make this not look as holistic, but give people a strong understanding of how
Mm,
we shouldn't be so self-reliant on medication and
mm.
go back to natural medicine, which is coming from earth. And
Yes.
so with, fruits, vegetables, core food product, but more importantly, it's your wellness food. We in nutrition, we have a couple of programs and mindsets which have been adapted. And we say, for example, there's two types of foods, but the food, which is your primary food, is actually not the food that you eat. It's the food that you give through nourishment to yourself. And so it relates to like a combination. There's about 12 factors. It's basically your spirituality, it's your joy,
Yep.
it's the food that you make in the
Yep.
home,
Yep. I'm
it's
looking at it.
your working
Yep.
environment, how you're taking care of your mental health.
Yep.
That is actually more important than the food that you put into your mouth. And so
Mm.
if you can't take care of your inner self,
Yep.
and we talked about this before,
Yep.
your outer self is not going to function. And when you're talking
Mm.
about your outer self, we're talking about everything from keeping the acquire the acquired mental changes like mental illness or pain, or just basically being a pleasant person or being able to be professionally productive, or
Professionally.
well professionally when you're interacting with other people, with our moods and so forth. So, this is really dependent on our so-called diet or our food that we intake. So when somebody who is in wellness or nutrition, a dietitian, somebody of that nature, this is a big part of what they discuss. And so you have to be a little bit more mindful. So now in your country and a lot of the interlane countries, you base a lot on spirituality. And so spirituality can mean different things, but a lot of it is based also on calmness, and a lot of people get involved with some form of meditation. That used to be considered as weird and strange in America. People are not that understanding of heritage, background, and so forth. And so they kind of adopted a lot more of these in your larger states, like your New York City and your Los Angeles, Californias, because we are involved with so many different options, but now it's more of a lifestyle all throughout the United States. And I think because we have been dealing with challenges where you have to get a little bit more in tune to yourself, and we're understanding people or negative parts of people from different parts of the world, we are starting to do a little bit of soul searching within ourselves. And that's where you become a little bit more spiritual and you're a little bit more aware. Now, we love Dr. Fauci here. Nobody can touch our Dr. Fauci. And so
he's such a kind soul,
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he's brilliant. And someone of that magnitude, you cannot deny. And unfortunately, he had some problems here in the United States, but we love him in general. The people love him. But, it's people like him around the world who actually may give a stronger understanding of what science is, that helps people become comfortable in learning new options on how to even take care of themselves. And so functional and integrative is something that has now transcended in mental health. And in hypnosis is a state of a trance that works specifically with your consciousness and your unconsciousness. And it affects everything from your emotions to how you make your decisions in daily life, in personal and professional. And it also affects, again, your mind has to have a balance with your body, and the body has to feel well. It has to be well. If you have any illness, pain, or sickness, it's going to affect your moods, which in turn obviously is affecting the way that you think and in your brain. And one can actually create a lot of problems for the other. And so we are now using that and mindfulness and more of mental health, so people understand it's not just what you've been feeling because of trauma or because of something very, very harsh that has happened in your life in the past. We all have the ability to cleanse that and let it go, but it takes a lot of self-worth, and it takes a lot of work from that person with the right practitioner or someone good in their life. But there also is a responsibility for that person to be open-minded and understand mindfulness and being in that present moment and trying hard to let go of the past, even though it existed.
Before we go to move on a little bit, I would like you to demystify this term, hypnotherapy and hypnosis. I've not gone through a session like that, and I think the closest encounter we have with hypnosis is what we watch on the movies, whereby someone just lies on the bed and then you have this pendulum moves right and left to get someone into a state of like semi-consciousness or into an alpha or a beta state. Now that is in the movies, right? I mean, and we have, maybe it's totally wrong, maybe it's just totally off. You know what movies are? Tell us, what is it in terms of, like, if you go into a hypnosis therapy, like what you do with some of the sports. I think you deal with that with the sports stars, some of the people who are in the business sector. They need to have this peak performance, I suppose. So tell us,
Right.
maybe what I watch, which I'm echoing a lot of viewers, I think, is wrong. That's only in the movies and in the cartoons.
Yeah. Well, yes, us Americans here in Hollywood have a tendency of mocking hypnosis and hypnotherapy, and it's actually getting better because a lot of people who are involved in Hollywood are involved with hypnosis, so they're starting to be positive and spread it. If you are into Star Trek, if you watch a lot of the episodes in Star Trek, I'm talking about the old television series, you will see that a lot of what they talk about has hypnotic or hypnosis undertones, and they talk a lot of science, which was amazing because I didn't think about it. I have two younger boys. I'm an older mom, and my boys watch Star Trek on TV, and I watch it every once in a while with them. And I noticed this, and I thought, oh my God, they're talking about hypnosis. Well, I am very highly trained.
Yeah.
And I actually have 3 centers in the Los Angeles area. And I have a partner on the centers, but I'm very highly regarded in hypnosis. And hypnosis and hypnotherapy are 2 different things. Most people are not allowed, or they shouldn't be calling themselves a hypnotherapist. You have to be of higher education and very well trained for that. But that is a combination of your traditional talk therapy, we call it CBT, and hypnosis. Now, I know over easily probably about 20 or 30 different modalities, and I have probably about 50 certifications, and
Wow.
I do training, and I do corporate training for individuals, groups, and in mental health. And so it depends really what someone is looking into, but basically what hypnosis is just as effective as hypnotherapy, in essence, where the hypnotherapy clients, they also receive the hypnosis. It depends what they're coming in to see you for. Now, you can go to someone who only knows one modality, which is one model of hypnosis, and it could work. But if you're highly trained, there's a lot of things that we understand what to look for in the client. Different ways we can put them in a mild or a deeper hypnosis. Now, hypnosis is basically the ability to put somebody into a trance. And yes, you're talking about the beta and the gamma and all of that. Those are different levels of strength, we'll say, of hypnosis, of getting your client to be able to put themselves in that frame of mind. Now, the hypnotist or the hypnotherapist is basically putting you into a level of the trance or relaxation time, which is getting us to tap into your subconscious part of the mind. So I can really get into, the difference between the subconscious and the conscious and how we look. But most of us, no matter where we come from with any variable, just people in general, we are more negative than positive, and our brain grasps negativity before positivity. And so we have to be more self-aware. And this is where all of this comes into play with the regular person, of how our personality is. So when we feel something negative is coming through, we can stop it, because that's where you're transferring from that subconscious, which is the negative part of your brain that soaks everything up like a sponge and will hold it so tightly, to the conscious part, which is the ones that fight as much as possible because they're the good, and they try to conquer that evil, so to speak, and make everything more balanced. And so people who go to the hypnotherapist go because of relationship circumstances, to quit smoking and vaping, also for their mental health, if they have disorders and their medication is not that effective, or they want to weed off of medication. It's also good for things like leukemia and people who have cancer. People who have very,
go through a lot of pain.
they go through a lot of pain, and also they are in extreme anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when people have a disease or a illness that brings up a lot of emotion, maybe they're going to, in their mind, because this is the truth, they may feel, or they're going to face mortality. They are an unbelievable mental mess, to put it bluntly. And they have the right to be, they're facing a lot of fears. And so something like hypnosis, we never say we cure them, but when you can release in the inner anxiety, stress, depression, a lot of things that are blocking, you can rejuvenate your internal parts, your blood cells, your moods. Everything will change and try to regulate and create a balance. And we do that through the way that we think.
Can I ask a question as a final question to wrap up the session? And ladies and gentlemen, please do come back, because there's so much science and so much knowledge we have with Jessica. I think we can go through a huge menu of topics, and I wish to go into your podcast very soon. You can invite me, and I would love to be telling you a lot of stories. But ladies and gentlemen, I've got a final question to Jessica. She wraps up, and then you come back next week to her show. Jessica, hypnosis still has a bit of a mystique to it, because it's not, I should say, because it's not so much something that people seek. It's like an alternative therapy for a lot of people. For example, how can people, maybe to make it much more practical or applicable to everyday life, does it have any effect on a professional person? I'm thinking about an entrepreneur. I'm thinking about corporate person. People who need a particular something. So what can you do for a person like what I just said, a person in a corporate level? What kind of help can this hypnosis give?
Actually, they need it very much. And we have something, well, first of all, hypnosis is known actually on the higher tiers of professionals, athletes, entertainment industry, in all forms of business. There's something that is very popularized that is also known in Asia. Like, for example, we have a worldly iconic person called Anthony Robbins, or Tony Robbins.
Yes, of course. I follow him.
Yeah, he's known all over the world. Now, in his early days, he never really explained what modalities he was using, but he does mostly hypnosis. And he does more of a mental hypnosis with people.
Okay, I see. It's more like, because he always emphasizes on change of state. Am I right to say that?
The change of state. Correct. When you're working directly with, say, one person, one client, even if it's a small group, you obviously do it differently, because you're one-on-one, and you're working directly with that person to get into that subconscious and the state. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I know, but I can look at you, whether it's online, because we work online, or in the office, and we look for changes in you, in your personality. Your body may move a certain way when you're in hypnosis, and that gives us direction of how to continue with you in getting effectiveness. So now here's the thing. Someone like Anthony Robbins.
I've got to interject you there, Jessica, because this is going to be the hook for the next episode. So I don't want you to give this away, because I want you to help someone like a lot of us right now to break through in these very difficult times. For example, someone on a corporate level, someone who's dealing with a business that's going through certain things. But I think one of the shows I've invited one of the business person to talk about pivoting. That's on the very structural business level, but for you, it's on the mindset. So I would like Jessica to please keep that and then take that as the hook for the next episode. Should we do that?
We can do that.
Yes.
Anything for you, my dear. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I've taken you an hour, and it's always such an interesting thing. I hope that we could actually continue our talk. Yet I've got another guest coming in. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, you can only have Jessica for 60 minutes. So therefore, you've got to come on to a show next week and then go to the real Jessica Russell show. So I'm actually borrowing her to my podcast at this point in time. And we will all migrate to her show and be her audience when she starts her show. And when will that be, Jessica? When will that kind of estimated to come up?
I'm actually going to start next month. So it will be the Jessica Dawn Russell show. I was supposed to actually start it at the beginning of the year. I've been guesting. I'm also working on some training programs. And so I had to put the podcasting to the side. But I have a lot of pressure to get it started already. So.
All right. Yes.
I'm working on it.
Jessica Dawn Russell show. I'm so intrigued about who are the guests that she's going to bring. Who is she going to invite?
I want you to be one of my guests, but there's not going to be many. I would love to,
and I would like to talk to you about my experience in China, how to break through to the cultural barrier.
Yes.
That would be really interesting. And what are the things to look up for so that you don't fall into the fire, the pitfall there?
Yeah. Well, the show will be very international.
I would love to talk about that.
I want you to come on. I promise you, if you will have me, you will come on, but it's not going to be a show that will have a lot of guests. It's basically going to be me, and I'm going to get involved with higher tier business strategies, and we're going to talk about mindfulness and wellness. I'm an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, so it's going to be based a lot.
Yeah.
I welcome people on all levels to join, because one thing that I think that is very important for me is to help people who may not have had their own business before. Yeah. And if I can just say, because I know I will start talking and I won't stop, but it is, like I said in the last podcast, for those of you who have not heard, it is easier now to start your own business. And when you have been home working, you don't realize what your abilities are, and you have unconsciously learned new skills. And you're really a business person that has your own business right now, because you have taken on a lot of responsibilities and liabilities, and you've had to push yourself more probably than what you're used to when you're working in a company, to help to keep the company and your job position up. So if you're thinking about starting something, I believe that it is the best time to do it now, not to mention because of the fact that you are in your comfort of your home. You need limited resources. We talked about this more in detail in the last podcast about not having to have as much money, and you don't have to put on the, entrepreneur corporate show and spend a lot of money. You have a lot of things accessible to you. And it's easier because all over the world, people have compassion. We want you to succeed.
You want it to succeed. Yeah.
It's so much easier now to just say, I would like to help you with this, and I want to work with you, even if you're not experienced.
And I think you're right, because I think there's going to be more collaborations than competition.
Right. Because I don't care. Don't let anybody fool you. I know this for a fact. I don't care how rich or poor someone is. A poor person can be someone who is conquering and far exceeds someone who had money. Someone who has money obviously is trying to rebuild themselves as well. all levels of business and
Yes.
life has been affected by the
Yes.
pandemic. So you're not competing with anybody.
And
so
you're right. Yeah, exactly. Because look at the startups now. They are disrupting all the economies wherever they are, all the young startups. So with that,
but that's what it is everything
yeah.
is now startup. So even someone who was established before, they're restarting. So you have time. It's not a competition, but you can get more done now. And by the time, and you mentioned this earlier on the podcast, by the time the pandemic lifts in a year or two, and things are a little bit more back to normal, you've already learned, you've already kind of, brought your new business off the road a little bit. And this is where I said, jump in the deep end. You're going to swim. You're going to swim. If for some reason you find that, being on that deep level at that moment is a little bit too much, you can always kind of swim closer to the shallow, but you have to start with the best. You have to fight your fears and just jump in, and you will probably do better than if you did starting with the comfort of shallow to the deep waters. So you can always adjust.
So Jessica, I've got to thank you. We've got Dr. Ashok Kumar Barnwal, all the way from India. He's the president
Thank you.
of the Orthopedic Association in India. I mean, he's a big doctor. I'm going to invite him to talk about his opinion about the vaccination progress in India. We're talking about 1.3 billion people in India and his overview of the pandemic situation in India. So Jessica, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
You've got Indian friends over there.
I do, and I was engaged to someone from India. I was with him for 7 years. I have a lot of passion and heart for India.
All right, thank you so much,
That's
Jessica.
another story. I don't want to take your time, sir, and I look forward to listening to your segment. And I will.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'll see you next week.
Jessica
Goodbye.
is from, just a little viewers. Thank you so much, Jessica, dialing in from California, Los Angeles, Beverly Hills. And you have her as the world's top certified hypnotherapist. And she's given us the hook about what she does, especially in these times for corporate executives, people in the top management. You need to break through in the prolonged pandemic. Let's hear it from Jessica next week about this. Thank you so much, Jessica. And I'm looking forward to be your guest on your podcast because I've got so many untold stories, so many tips to tell people how to penetrate into the different economies in Asia, in China. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Jessica.
You're very welcome. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week. Bye.
Hi, Dr. Barnwal. How are you?
Fine, ma'am. Fine, thank you.
Yeah. We are on live already. Are you here?
Just a second. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to take a 3-minute commercial break, Dr. Barnwal. So you just hang on for a while. All right. Just going to take on. I think, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the prolonged pandemic. And we've got Dr. Barnwal, and he's an old friend of ours because he's been on the show twice in 2020 when we talked about the pandemic situation in 2020 in the show called The Global Pandemic, whereby I interviewed people all over the world in 30 plus episodes. And this year, 2021, we have the prolonged pandemic. We hear you from the people, from the hosts from all over the world. And today we've got Dr. Barnwal from India. He's the president of the Orthopedic Association back where he is in Jharkhand in India. And he's tuning in today to share about his views on the pandemic, his views on the vaccination progress in India, and also what's his take on the overall situation in 2021. Dr. Banwal, how are you?
Fine, fine, ma'am. I'm fine. Seeing you
Yeah.
after a long gap. Fine, fine. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Banwal, would you give us a 1 minute introduction of yourself about what you do in India, your background? And I see you do a lot of panel discussion in India, particularly in the area that you specialize in. Could you tell us a bit about what you do and whom you are? And introduce yourself to this part of the world in Singapore, Asia, but also to all the viewers and listeners in America.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Good evening. I pay my regard to you for giving me this opportunity to interact with you in this COVID era and pandemic. I am working in a medical college in Department of Orthopedics,
Yes, tell
and
us.
Department of Orthopedics
Yeah, can you tell us more?
in Jamshedpur, and we get a lot of surgical cases in our hospital. Each and every case we need to screen for COVID cases before I get them in our OTs for surgical process. So we are very concerned. We are the target. We are the frontline workers, and we have to take all necessary measures so that we can save ourselves and we can save others as well.
Yeah, Dr. Banwal, I saw in your event that you actually was hosting a panel discussion in your area. Could you tell us about some of these things that you do in your panel discussion? You know, you're having these cross India panel discussions. Are they related to your area of expertise?
Actually, I am working department for orthopedics, so we get lot of cases in orthopedics regarding COVID cases.
COVID
So
cases.
COVID
Wow.
cases.
Yeah.
So before working any surgical process, we need to get our patients to be sure that patient is not suffering from any COVID illness or COVID disease
Yeah.
before I get them to our routine OT, before
Yeah.
to start any orthopedic procedures. So we take all necessary measures to protect ourselves, our staff,
Yeah.
and also to the patients. We are frontline workers.
Yeah, I'd like to salute to Dr. Banwal for being the
Thank you,
frontline
ma'am.
healthcare providers in this fight in the world. You know, but Dr. Banwal, this situation that we are in doesn't just exist in India; it exists all over the world. And we need the healthcare workers all over to be fighting in the front line. In Singapore, in America, in India, Pakistan, in Europe, everywhere. It is the frontline workers who are trying so hard to help the people. They are the one that's saving the humanity. Am I right, Dr. Banwal?
This is very true. This is very true with all frontline workers. They are they cannot escape the responsibility of dealing
Yeah,
with the cases.
yeah,
They need your service. You have to attend them. COVID, everybody
yeah.
knows that it is a very severe cases. Sometimes it manifests with and
Wow.
result in death as well. We have seen many countries to have suffered. Many so developed countries they have suffered. Uh, Luckily, in India, we did not get much more severe cases. We got mild to moderate cases. Till date, 11 million, 11 million cases were reported in India. Out of that, 10.7 have recovered, and around 1,36,000 active cases are at present in my country.
Yeah. So, Dr. Barnwal, in this episode with you, could you run through firstly about the vaccination progress in India? And we know that India has actually started to roll out the vaccination progress, and it aims to vaccinate a big population. Could you tell us some of these progress that India is going through now, and what are some of the next milestones we're looking at in terms of the vaccination progress in India?
Actually, ma'am, on 3rd of January
January.
2021, Drug Controller General of India
Yeah.
has approved two kinds of vaccine in India for emergency use. One is Covaxin, one is Covaxin, other is Covishield.
Can you say the names again?
Covishield, Covishield vaccine, which is manufactured from Serum Institute of India, a, one of the biggest vaccine makers in the world.
Wow. Yes, yes. India is the biggest manufacturer in the world. And the other one?
In collaboration with the AstraZeneca UK
Yes,
based company.
AstraZeneca. Yes.
That is, the name of that vaccine is called Covishield,
Covishield. Okay.
and the another one from a local Indian Bharat Biotech company, a city Hyderabad based company, which has been given authority by Drug Controller General of India for emergency use in to our patients.
Yeah. What is the, I think your prime minister has actually talked about, um, President Modi has said that, he has a very ambitious plan about rolling out the vaccination. Can you explain what is there a vaccination plan for India to roll this
One
out?
thing I would like to share, ma'am, India believes in Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. It is a phrase in Sanskrit,
Sanskrit.
with written in our Hindu text Maha Upanishad,
Yeah.
which means world is one family.
Oh, everyone is one family.
Everyone is one family. World is one family.
Yeah.
So in this period, in this time of crisis,
Yes.
in this time of crisis, Prime Minister Modi has also given green signal to supply our honorable Prime Minister to many more countries, first in our neighborhood,
Yeah.
Maldives, Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh,
Yeah.
Malaysia,
Yeah.
Mauritius,
Yeah.
Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
About 55 lakhs doses of the vaccine Covishield has already been supplied to
Oh,
these countries.
supplies to these countries.
These
Wow.
countries,
Okay.
and most of these supply has been given as an aid to these countries,
As an aid. That means it's like it's a free
free,
gift,
uh, free gift to these countries.
like
We
a
are very
charity.
conscious about our neighbor countries,
Yes.
so we have supplied to these countries first after procuring our national requirement and requirement of our adjacent countries.
Yeah.
we shall definitely go for Europe and US. There is a long list of countries which are waiting for shipment from the India for this vaccine.
Yeah. I think Singapore too, right?
In
Singapore is,
Singapore, definitely, ma'am.
yeah. Can Dr. Barnwal, could you tell us a bit more about, there's a lot of discussion right now among the people that, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fears in the people, including myself, that the makeup, the ingredient of vaccines uh, have an effect on certain people with certain allergies. Is that right?
Ma'am, actually, there is nothing to fear about. A, any vaccine which comes into practice, clinical practice, comes after an intensive phase trial and after taking all safety measures.
Mm, yeah,
Minimal side effects may occur.
yeah.
Minimal side effects may occur. That is onset of fever or some pain at the
Mm,
site of injection,
mm,
which generally pass off in
mm,
1 to 2 days time.
okay. Mm,
So there is the, the myth which once happened that if you take the vaccine, this kind of thing will occur.
mm,
You may get more damaged by the vaccine rather than the disease. This has become, this rumor, this sort of rumor is all false.
rumors. Mm. How is
Personally,
the
I have
vaccine?
taken
Yeah.
the first dose.
Oh, you have taken the first dose.
I have
How do
taken
you
the
feel
first
after
dose.
the first dose? The
I
first
have taken
dose?
the first dose around 27 days back.
Yeah.
I did not get any kind of side effect so far. I did not have any fever, no pain at the site of injection. Slight in duration I felt for 1 to 2 days, and thereof, but I was almost normal. No, nothing abnormal happened with me that I
Mm,
want to tell the people who have in their mind that vaccine will cause side effects to them.
mm.
Do take, do avail this opportunity to vaccinate yourself and protect yourself and protect the world.
So when will you take your second dose of your vaccine?
Covaxin, sorry ma'am, Covishield
Will you be taking your
vaccine,
second?
Covishield is a
Yes,
two-dose vaccine. The second dose you need to take after minimum 28 days.
28 days. Okay.
On
Yeah,
25th of January, I had taken my first dose, and the second dose I shall be taking by tomorrow.
I see. Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Barnwal. Could you tell us
Thank
more
you.
about rolling out of this vaccine logistics and your overview of this vaccination progress in India, inside India?
In India, ma'am, the central government, central government had a policy that we should vaccinate, we should give respect, due respect to our frontline workers.
Yeah,
So they they have decided that 30 million
2 million,
people, 30 million
two,
people,
32 million,
30 million,
30 million.
30 million people,
Yeah,
they should be vaccinated first.
30 million be vaccinated.
They should be vaccinated first. That
Yeah,
includes
yeah,
frontline workers,
workers.
and thereafter persons above 50 years of age
50 years old. Okay.
and those with comorbid conditions.
With moderate conditions.
Comorbid conditions.
Yeah. Okay.
Next slot of 270 million is for general public.
But
After vaccinating,
yeah, Dr. Barnwal, in India, you've got 1.3 billion people. It's going to be very hard to roll this out. How does the country see it's going to roll out over such a vast country? Because India is a huge country and over 1.3 billion. Is there a timeline that, at what point in time the next, the first is 30 million. What about, the next timeline, and how long is this going to stretch the whole vaccination to be successful, to complete the population?
it will take time, ma'am. This is a
Yeah, it
process.
takes time.
It is not as easy job to vaccinate
Yeah,
this much of people.
yeah, it's very difficult.
This much of people, not as easy job. But our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has said that every Indian will be vaccinated and no one will be left behind. Indian government reportedly has set aside 35,000 crores, 4.7 billion dollar, $4.7 billion to expedite this vaccination process.
For the process. Yeah.
Right now, after starting the vaccine on 16th of January, on completion of 1 month, we have vaccinated around 85 lakhs people in our country, and most of them are frontline workers.
Yeah. Then what about I've got a question, Dr. Banwal. I was talking to another co-host. We were just thinking of, the number one people to vaccinate are the frontline workers, then the older, weaker people. But will the same vaccine go to the children?
Ma'am, children below 16 years, there are some exemption for
Oh,
taking this
below
vaccine.
16. I see. So they don't take the vaccine.
No, they have been exempted from taking vaccine.
Exempted.
Those children below 16 years of
I
age,
see.
because study has not confirmed that.
I see.
So there are some exemption. The
Exemption.
persons with history of any severe immediate reactions,
Yeah.
they are exempted. Pregnancy, pregnant ladies, they have been exempted. Breast
I see.
feeding women, they have been exempted.
Weak women.
People with on immunosuppressive drugs, with
Immunosuppressive drugs. I see.
depress their immunity, they have been exempted. And also people on anticoagulant drugs, they also have been exempted from taking this vaccine.
Yeah. Dr. Banwal, can you tell us more about this AstraZeneca vaccine that is being produced in India? I've heard that uh, another American co-host, Madam Lillian Caldwell, she already has 2 doses of Pfizer injection and she's in her 60s. Her second injection, she had to, she felt sore in her arm for about 3 days, but she said she's okay. She doesn't have a fever, but she did mention that we need to find out are we allergic to the ingredients? For example, the Pfizer ingredient was made up of seafood or something. I'm not quite sure about that because I've never read that. Could you tell us to the listeners and viewers for AstraZeneca, if you can tell us some of these ingredients inside and also some of these ingredients of the other pharmaceutical companies that is being rolled out? Because I myself, I think I do have compromised immunity because I think I usually fall sick very easily when I get chemicals in the environment. There's certain food I take, I fall sick. There's certain chemical in the room because it's a chlorine or some soap that I use in a washing machine. I get sick. So I think I need to find out, a person like myself, do I need to find out the ingredients of the chemical behind the ingredients so that I can choose the vaccine I should take? What's your understanding about AstraZeneca and Pfizer, etc.?
Actually, one thing I would like to share, ma'am, no early vaccines have any live form of attenuated virus. No early vaccine. Pfizer and Moderna, which are global competitors
Yes,
from US,
yes,
they also have messenger RNA virus. This is messenger
RNA
RNA
virus. Yeah.
virus, and our Covishield also. This is also a adenovirus. The myth which is in everybody's mind that it has some live weakened form of the virus
Mm,
which may compromise your immunity
yeah.
is a fake myth in population's mind.
Mm, yes.
So there is nothing, no live early virus has any live weakened version of the virus.
Yeah. Okay.
It is safe in even those patients who has suffered COVID.
Yeah.
It is safe and it is advisable to for those patients also who has suffered COVID. It is definitely going to enhance immunity in those persons.
You will enhance the immunity. Okay. Dr. Barnwal, is there anything else you would like to tell us about your opinion about the pandemic and your opinion about the vaccination?
Ma'am, one thing is very sure that the pandemic, which has infected 111 million people
Yeah.
around the globe
Yeah.
with nearly 2.5 million deaths globally.
Yes.
I don't remember this kind of pandemic has occurred in my life. I am
Yeah.
around 60 plus
Yeah.
going now. So
Yeah.
personally, I have not seen.
Yeah.
And this kind of pandemic that has touched almost all countries. So we need to take precautions, all those precautions, even if it is recommended that even if you are vaccinated, your immunity will be enhanced 1 to 2 weeks after taking the second dose.
Okay. After the second dose, okay, you still need to be very careful because your immunity is not building up
Right.
yet.
So if you are vaccinated with second dose, thereafter 1 to 2 weeks later, you will get the adequate antibody level in your blood, which will protect you against the COVID virus. But even if we, we our scientists have researched a lot over COVID, but still yet to be clear that the persons who are suffering from this kind of COVID cases, uh, how long they will have this immunity
Yeah, how long after the vaccination?
after the vaccination? It is said, it is assumed that
Assume
some period of protection you will have for, but for 1 to 2 years.
2 years.
For 1 to 2 years, it is yet to be studied, under study.
Another study. Okay.
It is yet under a study whether it is going to give you protection of 1 to 2 years. But there is no option. The end game of this pandemic is getting herd immunity.
Get the herd immunity.
Herd immunity.
Herd
That means
immunity means 75% of the population must
definitely,
get vaccinated.
definitely, ma'am. That means that 7 to 8 people out of 10
Out of 10.
they get the immunity.
Yeah.
So this immunity can be achieved either you get infected with the virus
Mm.
or by the vaccination process.
Or by the vaccination. Okay.
And everybody know, as the COVID in some cases it, it manifests in very severe form. Deaths may occur also. So the option left to humanity is vaccination only.
Vaccination. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. The only controlled manner to get the herd immunity it is through vaccination. Dr. Barnwal, in your opinion, when will this herd immunity be achieved in India?
Pardon, ma'am?
In your opinion, when will this herd immunity be achieved in India?
Ma'am, just yesterday, US President has said
Yeah,
that it will take whole 2021 to
the
reach
whole of 2021.
whole 2021 to achieve normalcy. The country which has such a good infrastructure,
Yeah, good infrastructure. Yes.
such a good infrastructure.
Yeah,
It was a statement by Biden, our
true.
honorable Prime Minister,
That's true.
President of US.
Yeah,
He said that
yeah,
adequate normalcy may not be achieved till the end of this year,
yeah,
2021. So
yeah,
that may be the scene almost, I think, everywhere.
yeah.
I endorse that.
I think you brought up a very good point, Dr. Banwal. Even the world's number one superpower, and you're talking about a developed country with all the infrastructure, and yet they can take such a long time to get their population vaccinated. We are talking about now we are in February. I think they vaccinated 25 million, either one dose or two dose already. I read in the papers, but they've got over 200 million people in the population. And we're talking about a country that has the best infrastructure, the trucks, the refrigeration, because I understand that the vaccine needs refrigeration, right? It needs to fly the vaccine, it needs to transport the vaccine from manufacturer and then to transport them in trucks that has refrigeration and then be transported in, I think, in the kind of like containers that has refrigeration to the clinics, to the doctors, and then the doctors will give it to the nurses, and then you have the people population coming in by registration, face by face, to get them vaccinated. It's a whole logistical nightmare To be
Definitely, ma'am. Definitely.
so, yeah,
There is intensive training.
intensive.
Intensive training which is taken before this project was started with
Can you get,
training
yeah,
of the immunization officers,
the immunization
data
officer
managers,
manager?
data managers, and cold chain officers.
Wow,
So there was a intensive training for
intensive training.
operational aspect of the vaccine.
Can you tell us
Before
more about, yeah, can you tell us more about this operational aspect that you understand in India?
the
Who are the people involved? You've got the managers, right? Vaccination managers. Tell us about this logistical overview.
ma'am, these are persons at tertiary level. They are our nurses, they are our compounders
Hmm.
under the supervision of the immunization officers.
Immunization officer.
They execute the this vaccination process, the world's biggest inoculation program.
Wow. Yeah. And I understand that in India eradicated a lot of these diseases like polio. It was successful, and the World Health Organization has actually spoke about India many times about its success in eradicating a lot of these diseases through vaccination program. What are the challenges you see this time? Uh, for India. India is a huge country also, uh, like in America, and he has 1.3 million. And if we're talking about, like what you say, a lot of intensive training. What kind of intensive training and what kind of logistics? I'm thinking of logistics in terms of trucks, aeroplane, refrigerators, manufacturing of the refrigeration, manufacturing of the refrigerants, places whereby there's no electricity when we're rolling out to the countryside. But yet the vaccines have to be kept at a particular temperature. Am I right to my kind of imagination? Am I right to say that these are the enormous challenges for a huge country?
Definitely, ma'am. There is an enormous challenges to, because each and every people they need to be vaccinated.
Yeah,
For other vaccines, you have to be selective.
yeah.
Either you select a child up to 5 years for diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, all those you have selective. But here there is a whole population you need
Whole
to protect
population.
them.
Yeah,
You need to protect them from this COVID,
yeah,
the deadly disease.
yeah,
So because we had been having this basic infrastructure of the vaccine,
yeah.
so that also helped in transportation and conducting this vaccination process in India.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like what you say, I could imagine the whole human hierarchy. Like what you say, it involves the nurses, the people in the frontliners. Then you have the vaccination managers. And then on the other side, you've got all the material logistical support, refrigerants, refrigerators, trucks, and even setting up of temporary clinics in Singapore.
Definitely, ma'am. Definitely.
Yeah,
There is a side by side where this vaccination process goes on. There is a recovery room also by the
recovery
side of the
rooms.
vaccination room. If some patient you get some emergency after taking this vaccine, you need to be prepared for that also. Worse also,
Wow.
nobody knows that
Yeah.
what will happen. This is a foreign body you are inoculating into the body of the normal human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you need to be prepared. Of course, it has come up after so much intensive process of safety measures and phase trial, but you need to be prepared
Yeah.
for the any side effect, any worse effect, which we are not getting with co-vaccine and
I
Covishield
see. Co-vaccine.
and
Yeah.
Covishield.
I want to
Very
know.
much safe, very much safe. It is.
Yeah.
I endorse.
And I want to know, like Dr. Barnwal, it makes the job of the frontline workers, the vaccination workers, these frontline workers, so much more demanding on their mind and their health. Um, in the past, they were just working in the hospitals, right? Like yourself, you're working in the hospital, in orthopedic. Now, on top of that, you had to protect yourself with a COVID PPE, get yourself fully covered, um, for the patient, and also protecting the patient, and also protecting each other in the healthcare setting, in the hospital setting. Tell us, does that take a toll on the stress in the mind?
Actually, ma'am, there was a picture
Yeah.
which depicted the very much position and status of a health worker.
Yeah,
You
tell us.
need to wear this mask, which keeps your mask. You tie this around your both sides
Yeah.
of ears,
Yeah.
and you when you are working for 7 to 8 hours daily,
Yeah.
you have to wear this mask.
Yeah.
So the picture says
Yeah.
that even if you COVID era is over,
COVID era over.
because of the continuous putting on of this mask,
All the
your ears have become tilted,
tilted.
and you need another few months to put it back.
Put
It
back
was a
the
picture.
position of the year.
It was a picture
Yeah.
with a sense of humor.
Yeah. But under these conditions, it must be so strained physically and mentally. So I want to ask Dr. Banwal a personal question. You are working together with all these frontliners, and you do not know your patients, whether they are positive or negative. You are trying to protect yourself. How do you handle being a doctor and then going home and feeling safe, and also in a way that you know that you are safe for your family, because you are also going back to a home whereby your family is your wife.
Definitely.
Now tell us the struggles that you go through, become from one end of the extreme, whereby you are really facing the battle of potential uh, uh, virus, towards a place whereby you must be 100% sure that you are safe for you and your family. Two sides of the world. Tell us how you do you handle that, and does it go to your mind about the stress?
Actually, ma'am, when I am working, personally, when I am working, I always put two masks.
Yes, two masks
Two masks. I two masks all the time,
all the time.
all the time. And after I don't put off my mask.
Don't take off.
The first thing,
Yeah.
and I need to take all the safety measures, like you wash your hands, you take use sanitizer,
Yeah.
you, you maintain social distancing if possible,
Okay.
and whenever when you come back to your house, your own
Yes.
home, where your
Yes.
family, your relatives, they are staying with you, you have
Yes.
to protect them.
Yes.
because you are here because of the strength you have been imbibed by your family members.
Yes. Yes.
So 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 personally, I straightway go to washroom.
Go to the washroom.
I leave all the clothes, take a fresh bath,
Remove the
and,
mask.
and thereafter I come to my family members. I think there is lot of stress over
It's
all
true.
the health workers.
Yeah. Salute
We
to
have
all the
lost,
healthcare workers.
we have lost not it is very true that we have lost many lives of our frontline workers. This
Yes.
is also the fact which
Yes.
we cannot deny.
Yeah. So I really salute all the frontliners and all the healthcare workers, including Dr. Barnwal there. It's not it's really where the battle is being fought in the hospitals, because people who are sick, they go to the hospitals for whatever reason. It could be they are sick due to COVID symptoms, or they are sick and then they contracted it. There's a lot of unknowns about people. I mean, I know there's the symptomatic and asymptomatic. Symptomatic
Definitely.
people go to the hospital. Asymptomatic people are all in the population. No, so for people like yourself, the battle is actually in the hospitals. That's where the fight is being fought.
Definitely, ma'am. This is a very true fact. The, we are definitely facing this sort of crisis
Yeah,
when we encounter all
yeah,
those patients who come before us. So we advise them to put on mask before they enter our chamber.
yeah.
Before coming to ward, get your COVID test done. Before
Before the
getting
COVID
any
test.
surgical process,
Yeah.
get COVID test done.
Okay.
Then only we can handle them. If any surgical process, any or orthopedic procedures, or any kind of interference is needed, so screen those patients.
I'd like to take the final 3 minutes of Dr. Banwal. Um, I would like to I would like to hear from you. Have you had any of the associates, any people that you have heard that actually did in the medical field that you know of, or you know of someone else that has actually succumbed to the disease and actually passed on in the healthcare line, in the front line?
I want to mention, ma'am, one of my friend. He was a very good eye specialist.
Highest prestigious
Eye specialist, eye specialists need to work
high
very
expertise.
close to the patients,
Yeah.
and he was a very good practitioner in a suburban area, and the person who that person is no more.
Oh, yeah. This is
He 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 died because of COVID,
wow.
and this thing has happened to so many frontline workers also.
Wow. Wow. With that, Dr. Banwal, I want to thank you and salute you and your frontline colleagues. Um, you know,
Thank you, ma'am.
I think the world owes a lot of gratitude to those in the battlefield, where we talked about is at the hospitals. It's the doctors, the nurses, um, the healthcare workers, healthcare providers, that they are the one who's keeping us safe. They are the one who's trying to put out the fire, so to speak. They're the one who's trying to put out the fire. They're trying to fight the battle with this virus that has taken on the world, that is burning in many parts of the world. And with that, I salute Dr. Barnwal.
Thank you.
Dr. Barnwal, do you have final 2 minutes to wrap up your view, your opinion about pandemic and vaccination?
Effect of the vaccination over this pandemic depends upon, ma'am, two, three things. The those the usefulness of the vaccine, usefulness,
Useful
how useful your vaccine is, how much protection is going to give,
protection.
how much protection. It is. I would like to mention that no vaccine is 100% proof, but it is said that US based vaccine, Moderna, and Pfizer-based vaccine, they give protection up to 80 to 90%.
80 to 90.
Our vaccine, Covishield, is giving you protection of 70 to 80%. So, uh, this is the thing that is happening. The thing which is going to be more complicated is the new strain which is coming up.
Oh, the newest strain. Yes.
Newer strain which is coming up,
Yeah.
especially new strain from South Africa, new
Yeah.
strain from Brazil,
Brazil,
new strain from UK.
UK.
All three forms of the new strain, they are going to endanger this vaccination process,
Oh,
because the this it is said that this newer form, COVID with this newer form, is much more transmissible. Much more transmissible means it affects more and more people easily,
yes. Easily. It's more transmissible. Yeah.
more transmissible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your vaccination process needs to be given to more and more people.
Will
We
the
are
vaccine
fortunate.
be able to protect against these newer strains?
This the COVID Covaxin, ma'am, Covaxin is giving protection against this newer strain also.
Okay, it does. Okay.
This newer strain also. In
Yeah.
India, we have not yet encountered Brazil, newer strain from Brazil or South Africa,
Not yet. Okay.
but we have got cases of from UK,
Yeah.
those who traveled from UK to
Yeah.
India.
Yeah.
There are some cases, but we are, our administration is all bound to limit the spread of those cases.
Yeah. You're trying to Singapore, just to let Dr. Banwal know, Singapore, we already uh, have imported cases of this UK strain already. I think it's quite a few cases that has been reported, um, and it's. I really hope that the world we can emerge out of this. Dr. Banwa, what's your final opinion about the pandemic as a whole? What's your vision and what's your view of this whole pandemic situation?
The view I would like to say, ma'am, that we are definitely suffering from this disease globally. We should remember
Yeah.
where from it started. What were the situations which caused the spread of this disease, which has devastated the whole world? Nature is not going to give you excuse. This is a warning.
Warning.
This is a warning by nature. We have to protect our mankind. We should understand this warning given by the nature.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Dr. Barnwal, because yourself with your religion and your faith, you are vegetarian. Am I right?
No,
You
no,
also,
we do take non-veg also. We do take chicken, we do take mutton. There is nothing like that. We don't take non-veg, ma'am.
yeah,
But but you need to protect yourself where from your food is coming up.
mm, where your food is. Yeah, yeah, that's
You
true.
had to be aware of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Dr.
So
Barnwal, I've taken up almost 60 minutes of your time. It's always a lot of information, a lot of education from you. Let me summarize a few points. You did talk about the challenges about rolling out this in huge countries. I mean, look at America, the most developed country in the world that has actually set their foot on the moon and actually send the space shuttle to Mars. Even they have a challenge in rolling out vaccination um, program in America, and it probably is going to take to the end of 2021 or even going to 2022. And what about a lot of other countries, developing countries, underdeveloping countries, countries which do not have so much top end logistical support? Logistic is one part of it. And you also talked about the people rolling the vaccination programs. There are the nurses, there are the vaccination managers, there are people who oversee the logistical delivery. And also you talked about emergency. Even in rural areas, when you are setting up temporary vaccination centers, you need to have emergency setup for contingency plans. So, Dr. Banwal, you also gave us so many things. I would like to thank you for your 60 minutes of very illuminating and insightful information from a doctor from India. Is there any final things you like to conclude with that you have not touched on? Is there anything before we say goodbye?
I think final we have not come up with this COVID.
We have not conquered the COVID.
COVID. It
Yeah,
is still
still there.
still under a study.
Still under study.
It
Yeah,
is still under a study
yeah,
that what is going to happen.
yeah.
It is assumed that we are giving protection.
We
Whatever we
assume.
have, but we should use that
What if we lose that? Yes,
before we lose our people.
we lose our people. That's very wise.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think
Thank
that's
you.
a very wise term. Even with whatever we have, we're still not winning the battle with the COVID-19. And we must do whatever we can. If not, we're losing the people. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you. Thank
Banwal.
you.
I really want your message to, go to as many viewers as possible. And Dr. Barnwal, my podcast and my YouTube, we have the whole host of people internationally, yourself from India, from Pakistan, from Singapore, Malaysia, in America, Mexico City. And in America, we have different hosts that is reporting from that part of the world, from Georgia, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Texas, Indiana, North Carolina. You know, for all these people like yourself, Dr. Barnwal, we come in with a heart that we like to share with the world, to let you know that we hear you. People are going through struggles in this prolonged pandemic. People are going through very painful times. Some people have lost their families, and to let Dr. Barnwal know, one of my guests, who is a pastor, has already passed last Friday, and I do not know how he passed. Last Sunday, he's 72 years old. And I also have another host, Mrs. Anita Brown. She's a nurse. She's fighting on the front line every day without a rest. She says she works 8 to 12 hours a day without rest at all, every day at the front line. And her husband died of COVID-19 in August. No, these are the people we give thanks to. These are the people we remember. These are the people the reason why we are doing the show. To let you know that we are giving you the moral support, that the whole world is in this together, and we pray that whatever faith you are, we pray and we hope that God have mercy on us, and we pray that we have deep reflection and give gratitude to whatever that we have right now, to give thanks to the world, to give thanks to the people, to give thanks to whatever we have, and also to show our love and concern for humanity. I think this is the spirit of what we are doing right now, Dr. Barnwal, for the show.
Thank you, ma'am. It is your greatness. Thank you, thanks a lot.
And for you to participate from India, I am very thankful, because, you know, I really wanted you to come onto the show, and I really wanted someone from India, you know, to speak about what's the situation in India, and we have you. It is our honor to have Dr. Barnwal as one of our international panel. Thank you, and please stay safe. You, your wife, your family, your children, wherever they are, including Kumar in Singapore, and including your children in the US. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I wish you all the safety, all the protection from Singapore to India.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
And may the whole world cross over safely by the end of 2021 when the vaccination rolls out. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye, Dr. Barnwal.
Thank
from
you.
the bottom of my heart. Bye. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.